the Board Game Live. If you did not know, every week for the last, God, how long have I been doing these, Sparkman? Like forever.
Like 2 years?
Yeah, like 2 years.
Like
we
2
talk
years.
about topics in and around board gaming. We will be having a version of this that will evolve when this goes away. But I have not figured out all that stuff. That's a future Seppi problem. Today's topic, of course, is about beginnings and endings. Like, we're going to take a look back at how this environment and community has given us opportunity, and we're going to think about how does that affect our decisions going forward to new like undiscovered territories, which is what is going to come up next. Like all those guys. Like, my special guest is Squid and general man around town, Nick Sparkman, Sparkmanic. And Sparkman does one of my favorite newsletters and helps one of my favorite characters for like a company brand, which is the Bears of Less Justified. Like, I don't know if you've met the Bears. Are you allowed to talk about your relationship with the Bears, Nick Sparkman?
The contract that I signed with them was no, but I can reference. I can reference vaguely.
Let us reference vaguely.
They're not sitting in a box to my left, if that's what you're implying. They're not in my closet right now. Weird that you should mention the Bears.
I'm constantly talking about bears coming out of closets. This is a normal thing for me. It's okay. I'm going to put on the pirate hat before somebody puts one on me today. Like, I got this guy going on. Yeah. All right, Sparkman. So do your introduction of who you are and what you've been doing and what your 2025 is going to look like. And then we're going to look at you at the beginning of the app. So start for where we are now.
You don't have a montage ready, do you? Because I'm not ready for that.
No, God.
Okay, good.
I'm not you. You put montages together. One of my favorite things from the Conquest Princess campaign was the montage you put together. You're like, I can't do better individually than these people, but I can make them into a super group. And I'm like, this guy. That's when you showed up for me as far as like a force that I needed to harness. But like I said,
no, and that was great.
Tell me about your 2025.
So 2025 going forward. I mean, I'm really at the moment just kind of waiting to see what hits the inbox. I am waiting on emails and contracts and like, hey, will you run this social media account for a month? And I'm like, I can't say no. So yeah, let's do that. I've already put out 3 rap videos for said thing, which was not on my bingo card for 2025, but we're there. So
like,
if you see that in your
John
FFP,
from Terrible Games wants to hear you rap. Are you ready? Can you just do this?
No, absolutely not. I need takes and takes and takes and takes. If you go to solitared with a D at the end, _ app, and you search for that, then you'll run into an account, and I am currently making videos for them and posting them. And one of the ideas that came forward was like, could you make a rap about solitaire? And I was like, that's a creative exercise, sure. And so I did it, and it got 100 views. And I was like, cool, well, we're done with that. And the guy that I work for was like, I want you to do 2 more. Okay. So that's what we're doing.
Well, yeah, let's talk a little bit about content. Like, we talk about this regularly on the channel. The virality of a piece of content has everything to do with the timing and the landscape, as well as like the total quality. And so, like, just because you do a thing and it doesn't put up the numbers like the first time, it does not mean that you should not. Like, if you believe in it and you like it and you think it's fun and Sparkman has to embarrass himself, you make him do it again. Like, I understand. Like, I'm going to make him do it again. Like, after X number of tries, in a marketing context sense, I would say you don't have a statistically solid enough go, considering we're talking about beginnings,
Right?
until you do 9 to 12 of the thing.
Yeah,
Like, it's just not
realistically,
like you have not done it enough and across enough time to say, I tried this once, it did not like the repetition. The one thing that I think is super consistent moving forward and looking back is consistency is king, and being a genuine version of yourself or of the fun that you're having, I think is going to continue forward. I think that is
yeah,
unchanging in the landscape.
yeah.
Okay,
It is.
so you're
There
waiting for
is.
contracts. You're holding
Yeah,
your breath. There's a lot of holding your breath like right now, Sparky.
yeah. I was actually just talking to my sister about it because she was like, "Oh, well, you're working your dream job," and I was like, well, no, not really. Like this, yeah. I would. Would I love to
You mean
continue to do
being
this?
deployed wasn't your dream
No, it
job?
wasn't. Believe it or not. Crazy. It's like I got out after 9 years, halfway to retirement, and I said, no, thank you. Um, but no, she's like, you get to just like make videos and talk about board games and like you get paid to do it. I'm like, yes, and that's wonderful, and I love doing this. But there's a lot of like non-security there, like
All
things
right.
that are out of my control that could turn around and I could suddenly not have income.
All right.
Um,
So, one
yeah,
of the big wins for you in 2025, and you were part of the ensemble that did that. Obviously, a lot of the heavy lifting for this is Grant Line, but it's kind of a big deal. Like, you guys
yeah.
sold out at PAX Unplugged, and Sparky, that like you get to say I was there, I helped do that, and I mad props from me. Um,
I just attended meetings, Seppi, and I was like, "Hey, maybe we could, do something like this." And they're like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." And I was like, "Okay." Danny and Grant definitely did a lot of the heavy lifting there. I'm not gonna take any of that credit. That was pretty much all them. I got them a list of
ah,
people to come to IHOP, and I sent out an email, and that was my biggest contribution. But I did work the booth, and
and the IHOP event was popping.
yeah,
Yeah, like it
yeah,
was
that was good.
fantastic. Sometimes being a support character in a thing is very very important, right?
Right.
Like, don't worry about the fact that you are in the background for a thing. You are still there on stage.
Yeah, well, and it was speaking of like being on stage, right? There was we did an event that was like 10 p.m. and a bunch of people came out to play the game and Grant taught it and everything. And Jeff had to run and go grab a badge for somebody and like Grant was doing his introductions and he pointed at me and was like, "And big thanks to the Left Justified team." And I was like, "That's not me. I mean, yes, I'm here, but that like I'm not Left Justified. That's Jeff. Jeff went that way. I'm not. That's not me.
You
I'm a
are like
contractor. I'm a
we are literally
contractor."
doing therapy.
Yeah,
Like that's like saying nobody who works on Smirk and Dagger games are the team. Like Kurt's the only official like person, and like like gaming is an institution run by like 60% contract work.
yeah. No, and I didn't realize that coming in. But like there is a beauty to it. Like, I'm ready. I get this chance to like work on these things. Like for this solitaire thing, it's like a month-long contract, and then I can choose to walk away from it or not. It's not like the Navy where you do 4 years and you're like, man, I just bought a house. Ah, I guess I gotta keep my stuff up and go back and then upend my life after I've had a kid and everything, to go do something ridiculous. Like you should I have a theory about what my in-laws think of what I do, and I don't know how I feel about
Nobody's in
it.
law appreciate the amount of work that goes into work in and around the industry. All right. So since you touched on the subject,
Yeah.
you started your journey with the app just when you knew you were getting out, or after you had applied that you were going in? Because when we started interacting, you were still in.
Yep. So I went on shore duty, which was wonderful. Absolutely great for the first or sorry, for the last year of it, it was wonderful. I was going to work at 6 a.m. and then I was getting off anywhere between like 8 and 10 a.m. And then I would come home and my son was in daycare and I was like, what am I going to do with my time? I need to do something productive. And that's where the videos came from. And
For the record, because I want to interact with the chat, David, Nick is more of a Boromir than a Sam. Just so you know.
use you. Oh. I disagree with that wholly and entirely. I feel like I would either be a Legolas
No way.
or an Aragorn. That's my.
You could be a Thorin. I'll let you be a Thorin.
You know what? I'll settle for Gimli. How's that? Maybe Gimli.
You could be a Gimli. You could be
Okay.
you could be a Gimli. Absolutely.
Yes.
And my axe.
And then,
Totally
John,
a
you can hire me
Boromir.
whatever you
That's
want me
totally
to
a
do.
Boromir thing to say. All right. So you had gone short duty, and you're like, hey, I wrote a book of poetry. Now, what? Don't tell me things if you don't
All
want me
right,
to
I did.
remember.
I know.
Sparkman.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. I did do the
I
thing.
will celebrate you and
I
your
took-
accomplishments.
I took my re-enlistment bonus and I spent it on self-publishing a book that went and did nothing.
All right. So here is how that world
Okay, baby.
and your new world are colliding. Okay. Hey,
Yep, there's the kiddo. He has pants on this time.
that's
But I
good.
have to make him food. But continue.
Are you going to make food on the live?
I am gonna make food on the live. Don't you
Oh,
worry.
you're killing me.
I am a man of
Sparky.
many
You're killing-
trades.
You're killing me. This child needs to be fed. It's
Crazy.
you
Actually, I
knew
hear
that
you,
this
baby.
both of these things were coming, Sparkman.
I don't control his stomach, okay? I asked him if he was hungry 10 minutes before the live started, and he said, "No, Daddy." I said, "Okay. You're not gonna get food for another hour." And he went, "Okay." This is also
He's
the
like-
thing. It's the stay-at-home dad portion of it.
Well, like, it's important to take care of the next generation of Sparkmans. And I'll keep on feeding the
Weird.
kids, Sparkman. As long as you can hear me, we can talk around the topic. So, my statistic, and this is still true, and this has been true for decades, if everybody who writes poetry bought one book of poetry a year, the New York Times bestseller list would have poetry on the top 10 every week indefinitely. And it could be any random book about like the statistics of the people who do the thing just participating in that way, right? And so you wrote a book of poetry and you're like, hey, buy it. And like, hey, everybody, if you want to do a thing, like if you want to be an independent and do independent gaming, go and like buy one of like John's terrible games. Like that's the name of his company. It's not like his games are terrible. Like hold your breath and play Black Mold.
That's the market. Yeah.
Like David has been actively participating in the Board Game Live audience and wanting to make games, and he's been all about this. So if you are interested in doing the thing like board gaming, like this is how this segues in. You decided that you wanted to do the thing. You're like, hey, I've got this game Apothecary. I'm gonna do this thing next. I wrote a book of poetry. I was in the Navy. I am basing my poor life choices after Seppi Yoon. And so I'm just going to continue emulating this person that I should instead be immolating. And that is the thing.
Yes, I looked you up and I was like, this is the guy. This is the one I want to be.
These are my poor life choices. This person has the whole thing mapped out. I'm going to do all these poor life choices in half the number of years.
Yes. No, because I always knew that I wanted to do something kind of on my own. Like, because being in the Navy, even for the first 4 years, I didn't like the structure. I didn't like the chain of command. I didn't like that I couldn't just go to the top if I had grievances.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh
oh
no.
yeah,
No,
oh yeah.
no, 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 Sparky. Oh
Um,
no.
and so like coming out of that and finding this like random passion within board gaming, and then getting on this app that I had said, no, 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 I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to download it. And then that turns into, I actually, yes, I know, baby. I know, it is hot. It's a toaster. It's supposed to be hot. Crazy.
As you
Um,
are navigating your kiddo, I'm going to fill in DG Walker, and
yeah,
then you just interrupt me when you're ready to
sorry.
talk your
Yep.
Stellar again. So DG Walker not only wrote a book of poetry, and obviously has a game that he is in the purposes of getting published. I think he signed somebody, but of course he was in a rock band. DG Walker was in a rock band, and I think that is one of the qualities that board gaming as an industry and as a group sort of embraces. Like people who are good at multiple things or attracted to do any number of things can make themselves shine in multiple ways. Like, so one of the things that I loved most from last year for me was the End of the Line campaign. And if you saw the video for End of the Line, you realize that there are a lot more talented people at Fight in a Box than me. As in, they're actually talented. And so the animation and the musical parody, as you have wrapped recently, of this thing that is like a throwback to the Cold War era, like movie culture, was one of my favorite objects, right? And that is only possible because like people like John, who's like, hey, I'm a magic nerd, but I can make these things. If I'm making these things, I can also then just make games. Why not? Like, I can do that. Why not? Is one of the things that is great about this app and about board gaming industry and the board gaming culture. Wouldn't you agree, Sparky?
Absolutely. No, I hated social media for a really long time. And like there's a reason that my book didn't sell, and that was because I didn't market it.
Boom.
I hate self-promotion, I hate marketing. I hated. I guess I've
All
gotten
right.
used to
This
it
is an
now.
important lesson.
Yes.
If for every hour that you make a thing, you need to spend 1 hour promoting that thing.
Yeah.
If you do not do that, your business venture will not blossom.
Yeah.
Right? Your effort in doing the thing will not, like, that is a real easy trackable like metric that, like, considering today's topic, everybody welcome to Board Game Live. I'm Seppi. We're talking about making board games, and today's topic is about beginning and endings. And if you are thinking about a new beginning, starting with a new platform, think about this equation. I make a thing, like, DG Walker's like, hey, I made this game, this or whatever it is. DG should be spending an equal amount of time that he did making that game, which is probably countless hours, promoting the game. And he obviously has these skills. Like, John has these skills. John cannot suffer the cold of Philadelphia, but he obviously has the idea of making games and promoting games. So these are all real things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Living for 72 hours straight on energy drinks and good vibes. Woof.
Okay. Are you ready to plug back into the conversation, Spark?
Oh yeah, no, I've been here. We're good. I think he's situated.
He's situated. All right. So
Yeah.
So, like, being a full-time dad and caregiver is a big thing. But one of the things that I know for people who do that, you need to talk to other people who are, like, interested in, like, things that are not having to do with, toddler stuff or... like,
I'm so deprived
I need to
for
talk to other,
social interaction,
other adults.
Seppi.
What?
I said I'm so deprived for social interaction most of the time, Seppi. You asked me to do this live, and I was like, yes, I'll do it. I
I
need to talk
text
to
you.
an
You
adult
don't
for an
text me. Like
hour.
I had to have the board game sommelier Alex Hart tell me about you, and I'm like, why is he not telling me about him? I'm like,
Well, okay, to be fair, Board Game Sommelier ended up on my plane flight to PAX and sat in the row behind me. So we chatted for a good like 2 hours of that flight. So
like turned
we got to
around.
chat. Like I
You were
was turned around chatting with him, yeah. And
you're
we
that
talked
guy. You're not that
about
short, Sparky. Like, how did this conversation happen?
well, it was just like this. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. And then I'd come back here and I'd be like, oh my God, my back. And then we'd start talking again, and I have to like, yeah, no kidding, that's crazy. Oh wow, yeah. No, I love Alex. Alex is
That's gonna be
amazing,
my
and I was
favorite,
happy.
like TikTok
Should we just continue
2025
like this?
moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be this moment. At least
Oh,
you
okay.
acknowledge, oh my back, oh my god.
Oh my bad. No, I did. I was like, we finally got done talking, and I was like, oh boy. But I love Alex.
DJ
It was
Walker's
good to
insane.
chat with him.
Don't
Your kid
read
is
what
almost
the
like,
chat is saying. That man is
no,
obviously self-stabbing and
no.
sarcastic. Like, yeah,
He's
that's
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I love
yeah,
DJ.
you've lost us now, DG. You had us. I was promoting you and your stuff, and now the crazy talk has come out, and so I can't.
Yeah. Well, he's a teacher too, so you know.
Is he? I did not know that. Why did I not know that?
Yeah,
I knew this other thing.
pretty
Yeah.
sure he's full time, if I'm not mistaken.
Whoa.
High
Whoa.
school. He's a high school
Whoa.
teacher. He gets to hang out with all the teenagers.
Oh. I
Yeah. Anyways, so
I have a hard time talking to people under 35 at this point. You know that, Sparkman. You're like, you and I, we need a translator, an extra 5-year buffer.
that's true. There have been some conversations that we've had, and you've been like, "Okay, that's all. Bye." And I'm like, "Hold on, wait a minute. Why did that? Why did that happen?" And I was like, "Oh, he just didn't have anything else. Oh, okay, all right, okay, all right."
I do the opposite of the Minnesota or the long goodbye. And I get in trouble for this all often. I will say, I'm leaving goodbye now, and then I hang off.
Yeah. We were like in the midst of a conversation about like how I was down, about like what my future looked like in this industry. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And you're like, you can't keep comparing yourself to these people. And I was like, but it's just in my nature to do that. And you're like, okay, well, I have to go now. Goodbye. And it's like, man, he just did not want to hear it today. Okay. And I was like, maybe I was just
You.
being a
I had refuted you once or twice already, and I'm like, I'm not doing it a third time. I had, obviously, my
yeah,
track record of thinking of you, and not only for me but for my friends, says I think the world of you,
yeah,
right? And my
yeah,
action should really speak more than like.
yeah.
And so when you start talking nonsense like DG Walker, I will just hang up on you.
Yeah, I know. I am definitely one that needs that like third or fourth like reassertion, and then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm the crazy one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you are often
and you
the
cut it
crazy
off at
one.
3, and I was like, oh,
You should
shoot.
always take me at my actions. My actions
I
are
know, and I
super
do.
loud. Like
Yeah.
it's like, hey, boom, boom, boom.
Oh, I
And
know.
I don't mince words. Like if I
Mhm.
think you should alter your behavior, like one of my big moments for 2024 was realizing my communication gap with people under the age of 40 has everything to do with conflict resolution. Okay?
That's about right.
Boomers were awful to work for. They were not great. So
Sure.
people of my generation, when you pose a problem to us, we will immediately come back with a solution if you're asking for a solution. Like, okay, there's this thing. All right. And that is how we will do that. Like, okay, you gave me a problem. I gave you a solution. Let's talk about if it works. And then so forth on. After we come up with a solution, because, we have a problem and now that the problem is addressed, internally somebody of my generation is going to go, do I care enough, or is this going to be a repeat something enough to know whether or not I need to address why this happens, or how to prevent this from happening again?
Yeah. And
So,
I think
and
I
you
think
can
that's
see
a
this in
good
the service too.
yeah, and I think that's a good thing to have because like I had a hard time with like almost borderline making my friends my therapists, right? Like just spewing whatever complaint came to mind and they would just take it and listen. And I think that's why I got in that habit. And then as I grew up, I was like, wow, that's really not something very positive to be doing all the time. We should probably change that behavior a little bit. So every now and then
David
it
is
comes out,
complaining
but
about my acumen. Like, David, I've given you like I warn you, David. I have warned you.
well, now everybody knows that it's
Like
not just
David,
you,
you.
David. It's also just all the people.
All right. So after like, and here for people like over 40, and this is where I got into trouble, Sparky.
Mhm.
Now that we have a solution, and I figured out whether or not I care enough to know why it happened or prevent it from happening again, I ask those questions, right?
Mhm.
But I did not understand that people under 40 think that means we are starting over. Since we're talking about our feelings about this now,
Yeah,
aren't we back at the start? No, 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 that's the end. But we
yeah.
just came up with the no, like, and
No, no,
I
no.
got in a loop with a couple of people who are like, "Why are we starting over?" I'm like, well, "We're not starting. I don't like what." We're talking about whether or not we care. And like, no, that's the beginning of a conversation. I'm like, no, it's not.
This is the evolution of the conversation.
It's the end of the conversation. Like you
Yeah,
know, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You put away those feelings and hope to never have to address them. Isn't that how we're supposed to do things? Like,
yeah. Always repress, never release.
never release.
Oh man.
Yeah, don't ask for blunt honesty if I feel comfortable with you. Like David has like tuned in for countless hours of me blathering, and so I unfortunately feel comfortable with David. And like the level of bluntness has to do with everything with my level of comfort with you. Like I will not be blunt with people. I'm like, oh, they need bumpers.
Yeah. Yep. I had to put my bumpers back up after I got out. It was that took a minute.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
David is showing everybody on his Seppi doll where I heard him.
Yes.
Yeah. That is the most blunt I think I was. Was that last year, David, or the year before? Absolutely. All right. But speaking of which, what were some of the translation moments for you, Sparkman, from service to civilian life to app life to industry life? Can you map out some important moments for like internal communication or external communication? Like, what was your journey in? Because those all speak very different languages.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing was just like vulnerability. Like first and foremost, always. Like um in work, in relationships, in creativity. Like if I hadn't overcome that gap when I did, apothecary wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't be in this industry. More than likely, I'd probably be working at some hydraulic shop or power plant. Uh, and I would probably hate that. So, um, it's so hard to overcome the idea of like recording yourself and listening to yourself while you're editing and like being silly and then having to watch it back. And um, to get over that and to put it out there and be like, hey, I have this idea for this thing, or hey, this is what I want to do. To step through that, like, I don't care what anybody else thinks, this is just what I'm going to do. Or maybe I care at the beginning, and eventually I'll get to a point where I have to do a rap in order to feel uncomfortable, right? Like, um, so now I have no
I
problems.
gotta
Like,
watch this rap now. I gotta watch this rap.
I'm
David has
actually
a question.
I'm here to promote it. Games were something that I was into during the service. We had the infamous Snowmageddon in Seattle. Uh, I ended up not on duty before the storm. I picked up some games. I picked up Catan and I picked up Dutch Blitz, and then we were snowed in for 5 days. And so me, my sister, and my wife just played games that entire like five. And I remember opening up Catan and being like, man, this is an almanac. Like this is awful. Why would anybody want to read this many rules? And we got to playing and it was like, oh, this isn't bad. Okay, cool. And then I
How
started
many
going
rules are in
every week.
Apothecary?
Quite a bit, quite a few. We streamlined it to 4 pages in the rule book. I think it's still shorter than Catan's rule book, and it doesn't have a glossary. So,
Whoa, whoa.
whoa. Um, but yeah, no, and then like Dutch Blitz, I think Dutch Blitz we played the other night and it still like it brings me joy because there's so much interaction and it just gets everybody moving and it's so much fun to just like slap
I
cards.
love the idea of a game
Uh,
designed to get everybody moving. So,
yeah,
Tabletop Hero had a very important point. Understanding that ego is both a lever and a wall depending on where you're standing next to that plank is a real thing.
yeah,
I like to talk about this in the way of, and I'm going to ask you, like, think about this for moments for yourself.
yeah,
Um, Propaganda. Now, do you understand how propaganda? You were in the service. Do you understand how propaganda works, Sparkman?
yeah.
What do you think the
Yep.
purpose of propaganda is?
Manipulation of masses.
No, that is what people think, and that's why propaganda works. What propaganda is functionally, and there's a great paper about this. I got to get the link to this. It's about like the music of propaganda and so forth and whatnot. Propaganda works for both people who believe it, both people who don't believe it, and people who neither believe or don't believe, but don't think anything can change. Does that sound
Hmm.
familiar?
Yeah.
So, what kind of situation happens that propaganda can work its function for all three groups? Does this help you at all?
Not in the way I think that you think that it should.
All right. So, you're going to realize this when I talk about the service. You're going to be propaganda is this repetition, and it smacks the brain so hard that the brain does not, it limits the idea that things can be differently, can be
Right.
different.
Yeah.
We give you repetition so often that you cannot imagine a world that's different,
Right.
right? I was a product of many decades, and I remember like political parties working together to get things done.
What?
So I actually
Really?
know that that was a fact. That was a thing that ended up happening. But with the current state of stuff, or like people do not like the process, like our situation and multiple things that in the game industry and in our lives are working for a reason, right?
Mhm.
And it's working for some group of people, and it might not be us, but it's and so paralyzing people so things don't change is a real deal. And so I ask my friends, understanding now how propaganda works, and you were in the service yourself, but you overcame it. Like, what is propaganda you tell to yourself over and over again so that you can't imagine a different life for you?
As of right now,
That you can get out
it,
of this live like that.
well,
This is
no,
a
no,
good
no, 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 no,
idea.
no, no, no. It really is the key point, I think now is I want to either be in a place or have been in a place where I can show my son that you can do the things that you want to do, that you love to do. I want to be that example for like my siblings. I want to be that example for my son. I don't, I did too much time doing something that I hated. And are there things that I hate about making videos and editing and, taking absolutely. I hate
Yeah,
taking
and that's the
contracts,
cultural
Eddie.
appropriation of taking an art form that's not native to you.
Right, right. And so like um so that is where I go. That is my propaganda. Is I'm like, if you could I quit, and would life kind of be a little bit simpler and maybe a little bit more like uh secure financially? Sure. But if I don't show my son that I want to work towards like doing something that I love and fully enjoy for the rest of my life, then what are we doing here? Like
Yeah,
if
and so
you
you put
I
this. Your propaganda is you're telling yourself this is the best world for you. You can't
Yeah,
imagine a world that's better than this based on the examples that you're setting for yourself and the people that you
right.
care about.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
my propaganda. Yeah.
That's good.
You
That's
know,
like putting
the
what
way
I said on itself. Like a lot of people's propaganda is I can't do this because, or I shouldn't do this because I have a house, I have like golden handcuffs, like all these things that are going on. Like, um, yeah, like things that people should understand. And I think John had said this last time he was a guest is if you want to be in the industry, just stay in the industry. Like,
yeah.
this is actually a truth. Like
Yeah.
the other things that you've got going on, if you are just here, you will be become part of the one of us.
Yeah.
And the
One of
more
us,
things
one
you
of
do
us.
here, the more of us that you are. Like, yeah, yeah.
Moment turned it into propaganda.
You
Yeah.
troll DG. Get back to your guitar. Like, don't students care about what you're doing? Like, my gosh, he's been trolling this whole
He's on
thing.
lunch break right now.
There's something. Yeah. I love the fact that he's all over the place with the stuff that he is doing. And, see?
Whatever you want. What do you need, John? Let's chat.
John, my recommendation is newsletter formulas and personification of characters in and around your titles.
Let's make you
People,
a brand icon.
yes, yes.
Let
Like I would recommend, like seriously, John, I would totally. That's in Sparkman's. Despite the cultural appropriation, that is definitely something Sparky can do.
Hi. That's me. I am
He
I
is on
what is
my
it?
I would recommend list. Yes,
Have
absolutely.
you ever heard of Christopher Titus? He's a comedian.
Yeah, yeah.
This
He
might be a
had
little like
what back in the
glaring.
day. He had his own sitcom.
Oh yeah. No, he's phenomenal. I actually have a signed poster up on the wall over there. But
Whoa,
whoa is right.
whoa.
He did this thing that was like, I'm whitey and I apologize, and I live by that motto. So not to go too far deep into that, but I'm whitey and I apologize.
I had to do that with
So,
my. I had to do that with my relatives. That was the thing.
oh,
Yeah, yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Anywho, so what about you? What is up for 2025?
That all right. So you can help me decide. All right. I
Okay,
obviously my most successful efforts in and around like regular content is I love the Wednesday Board Game Live. So where should I move that to? And then board game design tip for the day on the other channel got written up for best game design social media by Cardboard Resin.
cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Nice.
I did not think that I would like it, but like 15 seconds of things that I should think about to be less terrible as a game publisher every day. Like these are like lessons learned every day.
Yeah.
Like I'm really talking to myself. If folks have not checked out Board Game Design Divinity, this is me talking at myself, reminding me to be less terrible. Not terrible in a good way like John's games, but actually terrible, terrible. Like being in the service was.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, who would have thunk?
So I'm trying to figure out our new formula for that. I recently picked up another client for my consulting business, And so I'm thinking about this question of what makes meaningful content that creates joy,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So the Wednesday Board Game Live gave me an opportunity to have conversations with people, like hour-long conversations with people that I would not get a chance to. Right? We have busy lives, and unless we are trapped with Alex Hart in a airplane, like I don't get to have a conversation with adults about the stuff that I care about. Right?
No, you don't.
Yeah,
No.
but I get insights when I get to talk to other industry people in and around stuff. And so that has been very vital for me. And
Yeah.
people get to have fun, except for DG Walker, who hates fun. He's murdered fun multiple times.
I think I missed that one. I missed that live. Darn. Dang
That's what
it.
he gets for being a troll. And then obviously the tip for the day, I've got people like, it was the weirdest thing at PAX. Like, like somebody brought up their like 11-year-old son and's like, my son wanted you to know that he really enjoys the board game design tip of the day. And this shy kid, I'm like, oh, what?
Awesome. I mean, like, I would equate that to
Oh.
like people coming up and like me overhearing them tell Jeff, like, hey, I read your newsletter every week. Like, it's really good. Thank you for doing that. And he like looks
It
over at me and
is.
is like, well, he's the one that writes it. And I'm like, hi.
It's really good, Sparkman. It's really
uh,
good. I tell people that you got it right, and I talk to a lot of people in and around this format that you got going on and why, and yeah, like
yeah.
it's
No,
it's really really good.
I'm glad that it came to fruition the way it did. Because I remember when Jeff first brought it up a year and a half ago, I had no experience whatsoever with anything that like that. And then slowly it kind of I made the template for it, he approved it, and then we started filling it in and sending it out. And
Yeah,
the
nice.
Bears kind of became he calls it my brainchild. And
Oh, I
I'm
love the
like,
Bears so
well, it was
much.
kind of already in place there. I just took it and ran with it. But
Yeah. My favorite piece of like game extra has to be Left Justifies different kind of bear in a bikini. Like that guy is my favorite.
oh, that guy. Oh, oh.
Do you have one of those guys
I
hanging
have the
out?
sock. I should have put him on for this. I should have known it would have come up.
Like that
I should have
guy
put him on my
is
feed. The pins.
so like Flapjacks and Sasquatches is a very Minnesota thing, and buddies of Jeff and mine originally yeah,
The
like
Bears
John
GP.
and Bill. Do you ever get to interact with John and Bill, the original writers of Flapjacks and Sasquatches?
Mm-mm.
Like if you come here for any reason, I've got to get John, you got to meet John and Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
And
bring the Bears.
so John and Bill had been doing it like Fight in a Box. We like booth teamed up with them a couple of different Gen Cons and Origins and other kinds of stuff. So I'm like intimately familiar with Flapjacks and Sasquatches. The Flapjacks and Sasquatch version of Squirrel or Die seems to be doing well. Squatch
Yep.
and Seek. So that's very, very, very exciting. So yeah, I'm all up in your business.
I feel like all of you Minnesotians are. Like I had a meeting with Jeff
Whoa.
yesterday and he was at Chip Theory where he's doing
Yeah,
consulting work and that's where he was taking the meeting. And I was like, "Man, their office is way cooler than yours." And he was
it
like,
is. It is. Like that'd be another place that you'd have to come see if you're like it's a little
yeah,
surreal. Like Chip Theory's office is a little surreal. Obviously the game center is here that used to be owned by FFG. There are a lot of yeah, like the Twin Cities is a great place to make games. And
yeah.
one of the best ways to reach all the Twin Cities game publishers is Protospiel, Minnesota, which is coming up on the 26th. It's super cheap to fly out here. No one wants to be in Minnesota in January.
It's so odd to me
Like,
that they put it in that month, like in this month.
oh
To
no,
kind of, or
like
maybe they just wanted to keep it small.
you know how busy the industry is. Like this
Yeah,
is like we're all super busy, and
yeah,
your choice was either after PAX Unplugged or before everything starts, and that is what ended up happening.
Yeah.
They say, God made Minnesota winter to test the faithful, and that is really.
Oh man. Yep. That's fair.
All right, so you're waiting for John to send you a hey, help me out, and
Yes.
like anybody else, like what else is your like what are you looking at for possible channel flips? Because that's obviously one of the main core things about this topic. Where are you looking?
I mean, I already have a much smaller but audience on Instagram, so I think
Okay.
Reels will then switch there. That'll be my main place to post, which hopefully will generate more of a following because I'm kind of off and on with Instagram at the moment. Um,
Mm,
a lot, mostly because I haven't spent enough time as a creator on that app. The only reason I have as many followers as I do is because I had a video hit 6 million and it was
whoa,
like
which one is
2,000
that?
in a week. It was my, it was the whatever, it doesn't, yeah. So that one hit and it was about like bringing a curated list of games to family,
Yeah.
uh, and then putting them away after not playing any of them. And that got 1 million on TikTok, and then that also got 6 million on Instagram, and that's where all those followers came from on Instagram.
All right. So Night Owl Games talked about Trend, Lemonade.
Mhm.
I think there's another
Yep.
one. What's it called? Like Platform or something like that. Are you looking at any of those?
So I have set up Lemon 8, and it's actually kind
How
of
is
it's
that?
been it's
Like how is
it,
Lemonade?
so they don't let you post videos that are over 90 seconds long, which was part of my issue with Instagram. Um, but I don't know. I've only posted twice. I already have a lot of people who have come over from TikTok over there, so I already have like 350 followers and I've made 2 posts. So
Okay.
like I feel like that has correlated more than like Instagram. Um, I don't think it will be DG because it's
I
kind
think
of a
it got
separate.
incorporated in such a way that
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe. I don't know. But other than that, I think this might be the time to switch over to YouTube. Because the end of 2024 was definitely a year for me where I did a lot more like long form content. I say a lot more when I did like 3 or 4 videos like that. But that's more than I was doing.
Right.
So maybe long form content or YouTube shorts. Um, I have enough of a stockpile of videos that once I finally sit down and actually grind away at getting them all uploaded and saved, I can then take them over and just start steadily uploading them. Um,
We
yeah,
uh, like March marks the 12th year of Fight in a Box. And so
uh,
we actually have now accumulated over all these years like a mountain of YouTube content. You can go pretty deep. Like I did not realize this, but somebody at like PAX had reminded me. I was on a D&D live playthrough show for 2 years.
really. I would like to see that. On it, subscribed, doing it.
And so I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, oh, okay. Because occasionally those people will come up to me at like, are you Pyrex Starfinder? I'm like, oh yeah, sure, you betcha.
Oh, you
And
betcha.
so Pirate Starfinder was an elf who spoke with a Minnesota accent who had mental health issues. And so
Love
I
that.
was that character every week for 2 years. And it's basically me just playing myself, right? But obviously I'm just a
The
half
best
elf.
kind of character, if we're being
Yeah.
honest, for sure.
For sure. I had our creative director at Fight in a Box play one of my alternate personalities on one of the streams. So when I checked out and my character checked out, like he
Nice.
it got a little wild. It got a little wild. And yeah, it was definitely a thing. But like um I never thought content was something that I was going to do. Like, I was invisible in our brand except for at conventions for the first X amount of time. And
Yeah.
that's probably the real lesson for this app is all the skills that I picked up along the way and all the the people and the interaction and the communities and all that stuff gets to keep on coming with us, which is
Yeah.
really good.
No, I remember a short video idea would literally take me from 10 a.m. until 3 or 4 p.m. to complete. And like, given they were pretty over the top, like I've always been the kind of person who thinks about the best case scenario of something before I start. And so I typically let myself down, but like, oh, just doing skits and having to reshoot, and I didn't know what to do, so I was using the app. And so
Right.
rather than like recording the back and forth, I was like, or just like one side at a time, I was actively like hitting the button, doing the bit, looking at it, canceling it out, doing it again, getting the right take, switching clothes to come back and do the same thing. And I would do that over the course of like 3 or 4 hours. I can only imagine what my neighbors thought I was doing. But like, you go from that, and then even after just like 6 months, like I look at videos now from back then, and I'm like, oh, that could have been quicker. That could have been a better
Yeah.
transition. Oh, this could have been better. This. If I went through and re-edited all my videos, they would be a lot snappier. They'd probably connect a little bit more, and might be funnier. I don't know, but
My
it's
favorite
interesting.
use of time that never took off anywhere was I did a series of stop motion meeple adventures called Panda Bard, and
Oh
they took
wow,
me about an hour and a half to shoot each, and they were
yeah,
little adventures that Bard went on, and I loved it. I like if I could go back and this was my life, like if I wasn't like living in the industry and I did not do this thing and I only had to do one thing in like Panda Bard, I loved Panda Bard. Like writing the
yeah.
little thing and then animating the little meeple to go and do all the. Oh, I love Panda Bard so
No,
much.
anytime I see those kinds of like, I've seen a lot of people come in with unboxing videos that are like that stop motion, and they have like a little story drawn out. I will always like, follow, share, because like
Uh,
the
I
amount of
wish.
time I know that goes
Yeah.
into that. I've done one stop motion graphic in my
I
entire
love it.
time, and the reason I don't do them anymore is because of that one time. Because like, it was
Yeah,
so hard to get all the little pieces in all the right places, and it was
right.
ultimately like 3 seconds worth of footage that nobody
Yeah.
even said anything about. So I was
Yeah,
like,
you're at a
nope,
minimum you're doing 10 minutes a second.
yep,
At a
yep,
minimum. It's probably going to be longer. And that doesn't include scripting and other things. I loved it. God, my
yeah.
sense of like wanting to do like useless things that set money on fire is epic.
Keep doing it, and then eventually you'll have lore, and like it'll have a whole character
Yeah.
arc thing, and
Oh
you're
my
good at
god, Panda
those.
Bar did have an entire like I absolutely loved it. What is the other than obviously rapping, like what is your favorite thing that you've done?
Uh, my favorite thing that I've done in terms of content, and unfortunately it didn't do what I wanted it to. I did a little bit skit on, um, it was the a meeting for uh, board games that have like fallen, right? So like, you've got Monopoly leading the meeting. You've got Clue, you've got Risk, you've got Uno, and you've got, I think there was one other one, but each of them was a different character. So like Clue, I had my glasses and I had a cardigan on. For Risk, it was like a green sweater with slicked back hair, like very military. And then Monopoly was just like a suit jacket with a white t-shirt underneath. And I remember doing this in my living room, and I had finally figured out how to do it, right? So I'm like writing the script down. I'm like, okay, Monopoly is this kind of character. He's going to say this. This is how he's going to lead things. And then you've got Uno, who can only say one word, and that's Uno. Um, and like, so I did this whole thing, and it took probably like 2 or 3 hours of recording and then editing and all that fun stuff. And it completely flopped. And I've reposted it a few times on my channel just to see if it would connect. And I just don't know if I have the audience for it. But that's probably my favorite thing that I've ever done.
I
for
want
content
that to
creation.
lead to a story where Monopoly is unalived and Clue has to try to solve it, and
So
then Catan ultimately pops up and does his thing.
so that skit ended. And it's funny you mentioned Catan. That skit ended with this dude in like beachwear, full like bro accent, being like, "Oh, I'm here for the meeting," and they're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Catan. What can I help you with, guys?" And yeah, it was a whole.
Oh, that's really
It would have
good.
been wonderful. I wanted to do part twos. I just it
That's
didn't do
fine.
the thing.
Like, not everything that you
Yeah,
love is time worth it for your other goals, and you have to make some choices.
yeah.
Night Owl Games is talking about his next KIS and digital animations. When is that, Night Owl? When are you launching? Like, mine is February 4th for Kaiser Cucumber and the Gangs of Mechanical Corners, which is a follow up to Mouse Cheesecake Cucumber.
Yeah.
Uh, do you have anything planned for any of your clients that you can talk about, Sparky? What's your next project that you got going on?
I'm actively working on signing Scurvy finally. So Scurvy could potentially be signed this year, as well as a game that my wife has been designing that I've been developing with her,
Nice.
which could be like it's really good. And I have put off some of my other projects to like front load her game because I'm like, I love this.
I
Um,
love that.
and I do have a dice game that I am gonna try pitching to some people. I don't know. I like there's at least six designs that I'm working on. Hopefully I'm able to make it to a con and not be working the entire time and get to like go take pitch meetings and stuff. But
You have to
um,
schedule that if you want to
I
make that
know, and I'm
happen.
so bad at scheduling those things.
You literally got to schedule not in the booth time or not doing this other stuff time.
Yeah.
Like trying to catch you at a convention and give you end of the line still gives me post traumatic stress.
I'm everywhere and also nowhere all at the same time at conventions. It is insane.
But your
But
wife, she
yes,
was a joy. It was good to meet her. I thought she was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. No, that was Origins was a lot of fun. I'm glad that she had as good of a time as she did,
It
and
was
Kurgan got to
good.
scare her away for a while.
Yeah, no, board gaming needs more voices from women designers, so that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I
Yeah,
keep
I'm
trying to tell her,
excited.
and she's like, I don't think it's that good. And I'm like, it is. I'm telling you that it's good, and it's not just because I worked on it with like it is good. It is very good.
Oh, I
So
love that.
yeah,
That's really cool. Yeah. All right, so
yeah.
that's what's got coming up. Now we're in the final wrap up. What are things that you want to tell future Sparkman right now?
Future Sparkman. Oh boy. Um,
We always do the what would you tell
I
past Sparkman? We always do like things like what are you going to like what should you dictate to future Sparkman right now that it's codified into this thing?
um, you got it. Stay out of your head. Don't let
Aw.
don't let your ego freaking take over what you have going on because that's something that I've also had to learn to deal with is like I haven't because I have such a problem with authority, I do have some ego problems. Believe it or not, crazy. I like in the type of like FOMO type of way. Like
Oh,
if
okay.
I see other creators doing cool things, I'm like, well, why aren't you good enough to do that? What they didn't want to invite you? You know, that kind of thing. Like that's where my head goes. So I've had to work on that. So hopefully that continues to improve and we can get over that future me.
Okay, for
Yeah.
me, I want to continue to embrace the lessons that everybody around me are readily putting up. Uh, and that's a thing. Again, your ego way. You're like, sometimes you're like, did I walk away here hurt, or should I have walked away here with an inspiration for how I could do things better, or
Right.
how I could do things less worse?
Yeah.
One of the things that is also sort of a generational thing is understanding that trading something awful for something that is bad is actually an improvement. Like,
Yeah.
both things can be super crappy, but one being less crappy actually means it's an improvement.
I'm gonna tell my sister that because she's going through
Like,
some rough times right now.
eventually
And that's a great
you trade things that are crappy for things that are meh. And
yeah,
eventually you trade things for meh that are it's okay.
it's
And
good.
then
Okay.
like it is okay to understand that you are making a swap for something that is just a little less awful.
Yeah.
And understanding that that can be a win is probably going to be one of the lessons, other than me talking about propaganda being the paralysis of imagination. Like, propaganda is there to teach you not to think about a world where other things are possible, where you're
Yeah.
defying gravity.
Why did you read my brain? Because you said like, "What's your thing?" and my brain instantly went, "I hope you're happy." And I was gonna bring up Wicked, and so here we are. Kind of on that, like on that note, like in terms of creators and feeling down about this potential ban and like work going away.
You should not take it as this is all going away. This is whatever. This is a we have a whole, like, with 170 million people either deciding that this part of their life is done, they're going to go someplace else, or looking for a new. This is fertile ground. All
Yeah.
upheaval and crisis is potential.
Yeah, looking for the next thing and just don't stop putting things out. I think that
Yeah.
that becomes my biggest thing is like it, and we've kind of talked about this before, and this will be my last point, but like even if you have those negative feelings about putting something out, doing it is always gonna make you feel better than not. And like if it doesn't make you feel better, then you should just take it down. Or whatever. Like,
Right.
but don't let that initial fear stop you from putting out what you have to offer into the world. So that's it.
Absolutely. Like my degree is in creative writing, and your first book will be awful.
It will.
Your first anything is going to be probably going to be awful. Just let it be awful so you can get to the thing that is good. Like, you do the awful thing. Like, Mondo Davis has a great story about doing the awful thing and then putting in front of important board game, or people he looked up into the board game, and them telling him very real things, and he's like,
oh yeah.
like, it's a real thing. Don't let
Thank you, Sonia.
don't be paralyzed. We have a very, like, the birth of the internet, and again, I was there at the birth of the internet where Al Gore was up in the stirrups. I was all there. If people don't remember Al Gore, he's the reason why we're in this particular situation. He should have actually gotten a recount in 2000. But the point of all this really is like, letting things happen. We're paralyzed by the idea that it could be on the internet forever and our embarrassment and whatever it is. But like a school of fish is safe because there's all these people doing all these things. Like, don't worry about it. Take it down. Do it like, yeah, like it's definitely a thing. I think that's great advice, Sparky. Okay. Next week is going to be the last Wednesday Board Game Live on this app, everybody. Oh my God. So I'm going to have, my special guest is going to be James Hudson, and we're going to talk about the power of video. Nobody has saved a crowd fund as much through the power of video and personality as James Hudson has done. And so we're going to talk about where video is next. We're going to talk about where the industry goes next. And that's going to be awesome. Otherwise, the follow page for Kaiser Cucumber Gangs will be up next week. Please help us out if you like this channel. Spread the word about our games. That helps out a lot. As you know, like, Conquest Princess won 2 top 10s of the year and Game of the Year from various media channels, and all that is only possible because amazing people like you believed in the project, talked about the project. Keep on doing that. All right. Final thoughts, Sparky. You were an amazing guest as always. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Make your propaganda positive. Your internal propaganda positive. and follow your favorite creators on other platforms.
Yeah, I think that is amazing.
Please.
Yeah, so everybody, please think about showing up for next week. And I'm going to wish all of you a fun and happy week. Stay safe, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
Bye, guys.